Good morning all. My name is Ryan Olson with WHITEBONE Creations. Today I want to cover frequently asked questions. It's going to be a whole bunch of talking. There's a very clear agenda right now at YouTube, and they do not want me or my style around. We continue to grow, but every single day they demonetize, they age restrict anything that is wholesome and educational, which I honestly believe that is the only thing I share with the public, is what I believe is good for hunters, good for do-it-yourselfers. I believe that in my core, but they don't like it. It's socially unacceptable. So I'm going to try something here, and we're just going to cover the frequently asked questions, and I'm going to go over some new products, some things I've been promising, give you some results, let you decide. I'll have links in the description to where you can find those products via Amazon or wherever you shop. Thank you for being supportive. Thank you for watching. And until we figure out how they want us, outside of this video, we're going to run business as usual. Thanks for watching. Alright, here is that pig, less his hide. It was still a little bit frozen, that's why it looks a little bit choppy. But we're going to put this pig right in a boil of a little bit of OxiClean and water, and then we're going to talk whitening methods. The reason I'm doing a pig for today's video is the pig is the worst offender of grease and oil, which is every skull guy's nemesis. We're always trying to get the oil and grease and fats out of the bone so that it doesn't have that calicoing, natural yellowing that's in the skull. We all know it doesn't hurt anything, we get it, but we'd like to have them pure white. It just makes for a more aesthetic look. Let's get it in the pot. Alright, the number one question I get by far, what do you whiten with? What percentage? All that stuff. And I realize now more than ever that that's probably the most confusing part of the films that I put out. It makes sense to me because I do it every day. But I have been using one product for over 20 years. I have been using a 40% liquid developer from the beauty supply. Now I have made reference that this is 40% by volume liquid peroxide. I have literally said that in almost every video. Every once in a while I'll get a chemist or somebody on there say, hey, you're not really saying the right thing, but I do reference the beauty supply. This is a very hard thing to get. So I want to just clarify, and I apologize for all the verbiage, but just stick with me. So liquid developer at 40% by volume is 12% peroxide. I love this product. It has worked really good for me, not having a chemistry background. I don't know exactly what it was, and that's where the references always come, 40% by volume. That being said, I dilute this with water by 50%. So essentially that 12% peroxide is 6% peroxide, roughly. The brown bottle that you get at the, say, the drugstore is 3% by volume. So you can see the difference in strength. This particular product I have no affiliation with. This one's called AQUA Silk chlorine-free shock oxidizer, and it actually contains 27% hydrogen peroxide oxidizer. It says oxidizer and then it says corrosive. So by that math, this is almost twice the strength of that. I don't know how all the chemical pieces work. All I know is it's very difficult for most people to find this, and this is available just about anywhere. I'm going to put the link to Amazon in the description, but if you're looking to find it, there's over 1,000 Leslie pool supply stores across the nation. This is a product that's on the shelf. It's not theirs, but this is the only one I can find that is liquid peroxide at 27%. So the reason I wanted to have a product to show you on is I'm going to take and do that pig skull with a gallon of this and 3 gallons of water. The exact mix, so there's no gray area. We're going to bring it to a boil and shut it off. We want to see how much it whitens and how much it degreases. I'm being told that peroxide does not degrease. That's fine. For some reason it degreases for me. But when you boil, you open up the pores of the bone and you allow that stuff to separate. So maybe the peroxide is separating the fats from the water. But this works for me, and it is the ultimate whitener. That's where we're at right now with this. All right, there's your pig skull, just power washed clean with OxiClean. You can see it starting to lighten up here from the drying. This is going to turn kind of an opaque white as soon as it's dry. And then in about 3 days, this thing will turn bright yellow with oil that's in the bone. So this is the part we've been waiting for. I'm going to drop it in the pot, and I'm going to go 1 gallon of silk, AQUA silk, and 3 gallons of water. We're going to bring it to a boil and shut it off. Don't breathe it. Make sure that skull, I know what I'm doing. Make sure that skull, the brain cavity, has no air in it. On this one here, it kept floating up, floating up, floating up. So I rolled it, down it went. That way that chemical's making contact with every piece of bone. I don't know why I set the camera there. I'm an idiot. Just don't breathe it. So I've cut the heat off. No more boil. Literally just came up, perk, perk, perk. Shut it down. I'm going to leave this thing for about an hour and a half and then peek at it because that chemical's pretty strong. But typically with a pig, I'll leave it overnight in the hot peroxide. Then I will re-bring it to a boil and rinse it, and then it dries better if it comes out of the boil. So that's where it's at. We'll check it out in a minute. You can see how much oil's on the surface. You can see that that bone is bright white. I think it's really attacking that bone. If you feel that bone and it starts to feel a little bit gritty, not smooth, like you're wiping across a latex glove, like you're going across a gritty surface, that to me is saying it's starting to etch, starting to damage the bone. So I always like to pull a skull out of the pot super hot because it dries right now. So I'm going to pull this skull as is. I'm going to bring it to a boil. It's going to help separate that oil from the surface of that pot. And then I'm going to put it in there for just a minute, give it a good hot rinse, pull it out, rinse it, and let it dry. This is that peroxide mix. It's been off the boil and off the burner for 20 minutes, and it's still, that peroxide captures so much heat. Once you've boiled and the skulls have dried, I don't like to re-boil them, but I don't mind giving them a hot water soak. If you're trying to degrease, this is the best way to do it, bar none. You saw, actually I'm going to show you that clip right now. I have used acetone in the past to degrease. I actually had a subscriber say try acetone, and I am sorry I do not remember that name. I wish I would have wrote it down, but to you, and you know who you are, thank you very much for the advice and the tip. I'll take any advice, any tip. I will try them, and I will share them with others if they work, because I think that's how this community works. So I have had 3 Martins and a Lynx in this jar, 2 Martins and a Lynx in this jar for 2.5 months. My idea was, will acetone over time damage the bone? And I believe the answer is no, because it seems like nothing has happened. But you can see the color, providing my new little camera does it, you can see the color is definitely turned to like an amber. I believe that's pulling the oils, and that's what's creating that amber look. The Martins that I have in there, I just boiled in water and power washed and dropped in. no color. The links I colored up. And what looks like now is that all of these have taken on a very natural bone color. What I want to do to start off is I want to take that acetone there. I want to put it into a jar. Now mind you, this acetone is probably 6-8 months old, but those have been there for 2 months. And I want to take fresh acetone and see if there's a color difference. Hey man, this thing's safety, this thing's childproof. Excuse me 1 second. Nothing a pair of channel locks won't fix. Anybody out there watching from the trades? Plumber, electrician, framer, drywaller, anybody out there? If you are, thank you for everything you do. I know that you're the real hero. Alright, here's regular acetone. Did I spill that everywhere? You betcha. Clear difference in color. Can you see that? Hey, clear difference. No pun intended. Let's zoom it in. I'm going to pull the links. I'm going to pull everything out and let it dry. What I'm looking for is the grease that shows up in the below the eyes, on the jaw. Most critters, the hardest part is right here on the jaw. There's just so much going on in that heavy jaw that there's stuff in there, and there's multiple layers of bone in there, and it's just full of tendon and tissue, marrow, oil, whatever's in there. It just on most animals will start to leach out of that area. So if I can draw it out of there using acetone, that would work. I did have a gentleman contact me saying that in Alaska, Game and Fish uses gasoline to degrease their bears. I'm sure that would work fantastic. It's just going to have a natural amber color to start with. Most of your fuels will. Let's give this some time and revisit it here in a bit. Here we go. This is that coat of Monday. If you guys saw a film that we did way back when. See the jaw? See how that jaw is oiled up? Now that's probably a year old or so. There's a good look right there. See how it's all oily? Let's drop this in and check it every week. There's another good example of getting that air out of the brain hole. See, it's trying to cavitate. All that air comes out, you're good. Alright, here was the Wolverine we did on the last video or so. See the oil here? It's up around the nose area. This is where it got smacked with something. That's the size of the tooth that come out of that thing. So here, there's a realistic look at animals that are done, they're clean, but they're starting to oil. I think I like the new camera. Okay, so let's drop this in as well. Oh gosh, will it fit? Oh man. We're gonna need a different jar. The reason I'm using this jar too is because it's got that little rubber seal on the outside. You don't want that to off-gas in your garage or house or wherever. Start with the coating on the jaw. How about that? These two little martins were never ever whitened. I just power washed them, just super quick, 5-minute power wash, and I dropped them in the degreaser, and they are literally grease-free, dusty dry, and I don't want to boil these, but I want to give them some color. So what I'm going to do is actually take these, and I'm going to drop them right in that peroxide mix that I was doing with those, just warm. What it'll do is it'll take on a bunch of that. It'll take that natural bone color and just make it white. I'm going to pull those skulls out in about 10 minutes. I'm going to let them whiten, and we're going to look at them. Huh. If I was smart, I would have kept one martin out and one in. I'm an idiot. A mess. Okay, y'all, we are wrapping this thing up. Pigs don't get much wider than that. At least the pigs I do don't get much wider than that. That pig turned out so good with that new product. That's the pig that's done. Now, to the degreasing piece, this is probably the best example I have. You can see that I couldn't put that whole Wolverine head in the mix. So this was that part that had colored up. And if you remember, the jaw was colored up quite a bit. Look at this jaw now. No oil in it whatsoever. Here's another perfect example. This Coatimundi. Remember how oily that Coatimundi's jaw was? If you can see it there, like no oil. And then I just dropped this in the color batch. That thing is beautiful. Another piece of the puzzle, question that comes up quite a bit, is if I have already mop and glowed it, what can I do? There's instructions on the back of the mop and glow that'll take off the mop and glow, but I dropped this in with mop and glow on it, and it dissolved the mop and glow, degreased it. Acetone, that's the teal. I know that, I think I said that's the teal. That's a color and a bird. That's the deal. Meaning that's the way to go. This links, if you can see it or not, but the top of it is a little bit rough because I had boiled this, colored this, took this to where I thought it was done, and then it oiled up on me. So here's what I'm gonna say is the rule. If you know an animal is gonna be oily, small game animals where they oil up in the jaw, just wash it good and clean, drop it in the acetone for like a week, then pull it out, let it get good and dry, and then put it in the color batch, a warm color batch, and I think you'll be thrilled with your skulls because they will be oil free. Like always, thank you for watching. Product links are in the description. I love you. Till next time.